The story begins with the protagonist, Jin, stands with his party in front of the formidable demon lord's castle, ready for the decisive battle. However, Jin appears confused, wondering why the mood is so tense among his companions. Suddenly, a woman delivers a shocking announcement, declaring that Jin is being kicked out of the party in the name of the hero Reki. Jin, who identifies himself as Jin Geist, recounts his journey, explaining that he left his small village with his childhood friend, Reki, who was blessed as the hero to defeat the demon lord. Along their adventure, they recruited Yuri, a saint, and Ryashika, a sage, forming a formidable team that fought the demon lord's army across various lands. As they finally reached the demon lord's castle, Jin posed a poignant question to Reki, asking if she remembered a promise they had made long ago. Reflecting on the situation, Jin acknowledges that he had always known this day might come, as Reki confirms her memory of their pact. A flashback reveals their agreement made with a priest at the start of their journey. Jin would leave the party if he ever became a hindrance. Reki then softly affirms that this decision is for the best. Jin explains that his unique early bloomer blessing, while initially providing rapid growth and significant contributions, ultimately offered little long-term potential. He contrasts his blessing with those of his companions, the saint, who embodies the goddess and grants holy blessings, the sage, who possesses ancient wisdom and wields lost arts, and the hero, who wields overwhelming physical strength to purify demons. Jin sadly admits that despite his strenuous training, the performance gap between him and his powerful companions only widened, making him feel like an increasing burden in more intense battles. The sage lovingly reassures Jin that he is their best companion and that her feelings for him will remain unchanged, while the saint pledges that they will carry on his legacy. Jin expresses his gratitude to both. He then approaches Reki, who confidently states that Jin is capable of defeating the demon lord on his own, though Jin himself seems unconcerned about that particular goal. He makes a heartfelt promise to Reki, vowing to return for her once the demon lord is vanquished. Later, Jin is seen packing his belongings, a somber realization dawning on him that Reki's hopeful words about his return might not come true. He anticipates that after defeating the demon lord, his companions would ascend to hero status, making future interactions difficult. Despite the painful dismissal, he reflects on the happiness he felt traveling with them. Jin candidly admits his wish to have fought alongside them until the very end. As night falls, his two female companions discuss whether they should retire for the night, while Jin opts to step outside for some fresh air. Meanwhile, in her own room, Reki anxiously contemplates the immediate defeat of the demon lord, her true motivation being her desire to quickly buy a wedding dress. She daydreams of her wedding to Jin, imagining every detail arranged to his liking. She also longs for the simple pleasure of going out in town with him, just the two of them, acknowledging that while she doesn't dislike Yuri or Ryashika, their presence has significantly reduced her alone time with Jin. Reki reaffirms her deep affection for Jin, considering him her precious family who has always been her hero, standing by her side regardless of what others said. She cherishes his kindness, especially since he showed compassion to her, a perceived misfit, despite her inability to fully control her own powerful blessing. A cherished flashback reveals a younger Reki asking Jin if he would marry her should she defeat the demon lord, a question Jin enthusiastically affirmed, solidifying their profound promise. Reki reflects that this promise, and the precious memories she has shared with Jin since childhood, are the very reasons she has fought so diligently. She believes that with the party's current strength, the demon lord could be defeated in a single day. However, fearing any harm might come to Jin during the final battle, she orchestrated his temporary dismissal, intending to protect him. Later that night, Reki quietly wishes Jin good night and whispers, "I love you," revealing the depth of her sacrifice. Concurrently, Yuri is seen in a shower, contemplating Jin's dismissal. She acknowledges feeling somewhat bad for him but realistically assesses that the party's fighting power won't significantly decrease without him. She even considers that he might inadvertently become a weakness. Her thoughts then playfully shift to a cute idea. Yuri reveals her knowledge of Reki's plan to defeat the demon lord the next day and confess to Jin. She firmly states that she cannot give up on her own feelings for Jin, revealing her desire to pursue him. She reflects on her childhood as a saint, burdened by offering prayers without anyone truly understanding her pain, making Jin's past kindness to her a profound and unprecedented connection. Yuri recalls a touching moment where Jin, displaying his compassionate nature, asked her to share her life story, whether joyful or sorrowful. He expressed his belief that it was wrong for her to save everyone with her prayers yet have no one to confide in. Jin then fiercely declared that he would not tolerate anyone preventing him from supporting Yuri, even threatening to fight them. Yuri was deeply moved by his unwavering loyalty and protective spirit, her frozen heart melting under the warmth of his passionate gaze. She recalls being too overwhelmed to respond at the time, but now, feeling the perfect timing had arrived, she resolves to fully support him. In a dreamlike sequence, Yuri fantasizes about marrying Jin, believing that if he became her husband, the country and its people could not treat him poorly due to her status as the saint. She also imagines this would facilitate Reki and the others meeting him again. Believing Ryoshika would be asleep, Yuri excitedly makes her way to Jin's room, announcing her arrival and declaring that this is her opportune moment to cross the line. However, upon entering, she discovers Jin's room empty and finds a note, leading her to angrily exclaim about that old elf. Meanwhile, Jin has been whisked away to his village by Ryoshika using teleportation magic, a feat Jin finds remarkably effortless. Ryoshika thanks him for coming all this way, and Jin recalls her earlier mention that this was a secret art only sages could use. Ryoshika then expresses her interest in Jin's hometown and asks him to show her around, to which Jin happily agrees, grateful for her companionship, as he felt uncertain about facing others after his dismissal. Ryoshika ponders that strengthening bonds with companions is a good thing, and Jin acknowledges his deep indebtedness to her. Jin clarifies that he only needs to return by the following morning. He then admits feeling much happier, though a bit nervous, as the time approaches for her to return. Ryoshika reflects on her long life as an elf, noting that at over 2,800 years old in human terms, she's well past the age when her peers have started families. She confesses that her absorption in research left no time for thoughts of marriage, and before she knew it, she was resigned to spinsterhood. She recounts crying to her parents because no man seemed to want a woman like her, feeling that her status as a sage might have made her avoided, and she was unable to even secure marriage meetings. She seized the opportunity to accompany the hero on her journey, hoping for a different path. Ryoshika vividly remembers Jin being uniquely different from other men she had encountered. When she jested about her spinsterhood, Jin, with genuine admiration, found her considerate and wonderful, even telling her she would make a great wife. Overwhelmed, Ryoshika thought that if someone like her was acceptable, she would be overjoyed to fall in love with him. She privately mused that if she remained completely hopeless in the future, she would simply ensure Jin took her. Jin, meanwhile, considered Ryoshika highly reliable and thanked her for her constant help. He mused about his preference for older women, unaware of Ryoshika's internal declaration that soon this strong yet gentle boy would be hers. Jin then proudly shows Ryoshika his family home, encouraging her to enter with pride, as he had indeed saved many people. Ryoshika thanks him, and Jin eagerly confirms his readiness. Upon entering, Jin's father expresses surprise at his unexpected return, while Jin joyfully announces his arrival home. His mother, equally surprised and delighted, welcomes him back. Jin then introduces Ryoshika to his parents, who are utterly shocked when Ryoshika confidently introduces herself as Jin's fiancée. Jin's parents react with disbelief, marveling at his fortune in finding such a beautiful woman and noting how deeply Ryoshika seems to love him. Jin is visibly flustered by the sudden declaration. Ryoshika, however, insists on discussing their future immediately. Just then Yuri, having followed them, bursts in, frantically calling out to Ryoshika to wait. Jin, still processing the situation, exclaims that Ryoshika had never shown such direct affection before. Ryoshika reminds him of his earlier promise to take her if she couldn't find a partner. She then boldly declares her serious feelings for him, asserting that he is the only one for her, and proposes that they spend the night together and become husband and wife. Jin, considering the unexpected proposal, wonders if it's not such a bad idea. His mother, ever practical, advises him to think carefully about his future, questioning if any other woman would marry him. Jin reflects on Ryoshika's wonderful qualities, her elegant style, impressive equipment, and calm demeanor, and acknowledges his deep respect for her as a person. He then suggests to Ryoshika that they step outside for a private conversation. Once outside, Ryoshika, still assertive, is surprised by Jin's suggestion. Jin, however, is serious, admitting that while he can't confidently say, "I love you," right now, he considers her a precious companion and wishes to begin seeing her as a woman from this point forward. Ryoshika, deeply touched, questions if someone like her is truly acceptable to him. She then declares that Jin is precisely who she desires, and they lean in for a tender kiss under the night sky. Their romantic moment is abruptly shattered as Yuri crashes into Ryoshika, furiously shouting that she won't allow this to happen. Reki, also present, is horrified, fearing for Jin's life while Yuri frantically attempts to heal him. Jin, now injured, weakly questions who attacked him, unaware of Yuri's involvement. Ryashika, recovering, reminds Yuri and Reki that magic of the same type cancels each other out, ordering them to move aside as they are hindering her attempts to treat Jin. Reki, focusing on her own motives, thinks about the praise she'll receive for healing Jin, while Ryashika accuses her of ulterior motives, insisting that Reki doesn't need to touch Jin's side for healing magic. As Ryashika and Reki squabble, Yuri declares her intention to give Jin mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. Jin, his consciousness fading, reflects that while he is truly blessed to be so cared for by his companions, mouth-to-mouth is not necessary at this critical moment. The scene ends with Reki, Yuri, and Ryashika fighting over the injured Jin, urging him to wake up and not die, as his consciousness slips away, leaving the outcome to be continued.